In present-day Ghana, formerly called Gold Coast, you would find several forts still standing, which were built centuries ago, a visible symbol of Afro-European shared history bearing witness to a dark past, a past which has shaped the present in ways never imagined, yet never given its true weight in the history of the world. I decided to visit Elmina, a place in the central region of Ghana, home to the Elmina Castle built in the year 1482 by the Portuguese. It is the first European trading post in Africa, a place where it all began. I arrived at the old community of Elmina by noon. One thing I noticed is its distinct buildings, highlighting some Portuguese influences. The next day, I went further into the community to visit their Asafo society. These buildings are associated with the various Asafo groups of Elmina. The Asafo, powerful in past times, were male regimental societies of the people, which had different roles in the society. They operated in various divisions, such as land warriors, coastal guards, emissaries, among others. They were largely responsible for the protection and functionality of the community. The Asafo tradition was passed down from father to son, surviving till this day as their traditional religious practices too. Every Asafo society has its own flag, which is called the Asafo flag. I meet Mose, who is a griot, and ask him some questions. He tells me there are 10 Asafo groups in number, with their associated totems and regimental flags, which are known as the Asafo flags. When the Portuguese soldiers finally settled at the Elmina fort, they made an alliance with various groups. Not all were willing to join them at the time, so some joined and others followed later. So today, the Asafo flags of the various groups are numbered accordingly. The Asafo flags are handmade, rare,
precious to the culture. They are influenced by traditional proverbs and traditional arts. They were used in past times for recording historical events of the place. Mose is a griot in this community, and griots keep the oral tradition alive by passing it on to the next generation.
And then I was cry. And one man number two. One man hoop. I didn't move for the hoop. I see a castle. And then gas of our insurance who's alcohol. I got what you be, but I'm the man in Yas of 10. But now, there is Minna, Ija, and many. Nano.
Forts in Ghana have become very popular as slave castles. But even before the trade in humans, what actually attracted the Europeans here was its abundant gold production.
Gold has long been the driving force of European exploration to Africa. It has been a long-standing rumor in Middle Age Europe of a wealthy black African kingdom with huge amounts of gold mines and reserves. A rumor made popular by Mansa Musa's trip to Mecca, where this ruler of the Malian Empire is said to have gifted so much gold that it ended up devaluing the price of gold in that region for some time. The Arab states of North Africa and Near East had never witnessed such display of wealth, and this news spread wide across the Mediterranean, reaching Europe. Ever since, European states, which did not have a better economy than the other parts of the world, would seek to establish trade contacts with these African societies in order to boost their economic fortunes. Since gold was a prized commodity at the time. However, with their long-time Arab rivals in their way to getting direct access to sub-Saharan Africa, it would take them longer to find routes that would finally realize their dreams in the late 15th century. Prince Henry's biographer documents that one factor that motivated his quest down the coast of Africa was also to make an alliance with a Christian African monarch who would assist in their struggle against their longtime Muslim rivals of the Maghreb. This was driven by another popular rumor at the time of a great Christian African monarch referred to as Prester John, who ruled a great African kingdom. However, gold was still their main drive to reach Africa, a mission that would consume several years.
When the Portuguese ship docked at the coast where I am seated right now, the signs of gold were evident everywhere, and they knew they had finally found what they were looking for.
The ship was sanctioned by the King of Portugal. The sailors arriving recorded that even those perceived as commoners in this society were adorned with gold jewelry. These Portuguese would adopt the name Elmina for the place, meaning the coast of the mine. The amount of economic benefit Europe's Portugal was soon generating from this new trade made it leap from a developing nation at the time to a rich state. However, other European states were eager to have a share of the trade, which was the source of Portugal's newfound wealth. This led to some maritime warfare. Since the Portuguese needed to protect their economic interests in Elmina at all costs, they decided to build a fort there. This would serve as a storage of gold supply and also accommodate the heavy firearms that would strategically be used against other European rival vessels coming over to trade. The Portuguese king would give the Portuguese nobleman Diogo de Azambuja this special assignment of leading a group to build the fort. He would meet with the king of Elmina, Kwame Ansa, as a representative of the king of Portugal, in a symbolic meeting which would come to define African-European diplomacy. From Portuguese documentation of the event, the king, Kwame Ansa, was present at the meeting with a royal marching band and councilmen dressed in royal garments and decorated with golden jewelry. Initially, he would not assent to the Portuguese plan of building the fort. However, he would later grant their request upon further promises made. He would warn the Portuguese delegates not to break the agreements, but the Europeans would eventually go contrary to the agreements made. A cycle that is repeated in all the other African societies that would follow suit. Kwame Ansa told the Portuguese envoy, "People who meet occasionally remain friendlier than neighbors on account of the human heart." This offers a vital explanation to how some African societies at the time became strongly aligned with trading European partners to the detriment of neighboring African societies. They even fought wars together against other African societies. The Elmina Fort project undertaken in a faraway land in the 15th century is a testament to how vital the gold trade was to Portuguese development. The Elmina Castle also hosted Christopher Columbus, later sometime when he was in the service to the Portuguese crown. The European states would capitalize on the different individual identities African states had to get people of other African societies as slaves for the transatlantic journey. This was sometimes achieved by stoking divisions which leaves them as the major beneficiaries. The European rivals would also eventually unite, creating a common identity for themselves as opposed to the African societies which still operated along ethnic lines and considered trading European states as allies. These European countries, which had previously used enslaved people from their part of the world, would now take all their enslaved captives from Africa because it was just easy to do so. The forts would become places where these captured Africans would be locked up for the transatlantic journey never to return. Africans would be kidnapped, pushed into forced labor to work on plantation farms in the Americas, creating unimaginable volumes of commercial crops which would revolutionize industry, becoming foundation of industrialization itself. This would usher the world into a new era of modernization, birthed out of blood and resulting in a very unequal society.
Now, this is Elmina Castle, one of the oldest slave castles along the coast of West Africa, built by Portuguese in 1482. Being the first Europeans, Portuguese first came in 1471 to trade in gold, ivory, spices, And at the rate, the record has it that they were getting gold in abundance. And at the rate that they were getting it made them to name this place Elmina, meaning the mine. This word was later to be corrupted to mean Elmina, now the name of this town. But it is important that we mention that we do have a name before they came. Here is called Anum Mansa, meaning inexhaustible water. Portuguese had the castle in 1482, and their main idea was to use this to protect their traders, was to use this to protect the trade. So initially, every room that you will see on the ground floor, this was meant for storage. However, in the early part of the 1500s, when transatlantic slave trade began, this became dungeons, where the Africans were held in captivity before they were sent out to the Caribbean and the Americas. In 1637, these castles changed hands from the Portuguese to the Dutch. In fact, Dutch actually attacked the Portuguese for the castle, and the locals even participated. Now, they were thinking that as Dutch were coming over, slave trade would stop. Unfortunately, it's continuing, and even Dutch made it worse. Now, Dutch sold the castle to the British in 1872 when slave trade was over. Now, British were here from 1872 up to the time that we had our independence, 1957, when we took over. At the moment, this castle is 540 years. It stands to be the oldest, largest along the coast of West Africa.
Elmina Castle was named St. George of the Mine Castle. It is a designated UNESCO World Heritage Site. Forts of this nature can be seen mostly in the coastal regions of present-day Ghana, namely the Central, Western, Volta, and Greater Accra region. Gold still remains one of present-day Ghana's major exports. Today, Elmina Castle attracts tourists from all over the world.
How the dungeon was like at the time of this.
There's an intense feeling that takes hold of you when you visit this place.
A place that keeps record of immeasurable human suffering. Despite Africa's immense and painful contribution to this new age of development, it would be sidelined through selective history writing so as to deny its people of the important role their ancestors played in building the modern world. It is the exceedingly profitable gold trade from Elmina and its neighbors that would eventually fund other profitable European exploration to Asia and the Americas too. Warms my heart to see these kids full of joy, running on the same ground that had determined their fate centuries ago. They might never know it was their ancestors' interactions with men from faraway lands that will change the world.